heard during the podcast that are not in my voice or placed by third-party agencies outside of my control and should not imply an endorsement by Weird Darkness or myself.
The Black Museum. Affiliated stations present Escape. All of Fantasy. Inner Sanctum Mystery. Lights out. Murder at midnight. The Sealed Book presents Suspense. I am the Whistler.
Welcome, Weirdos. I'm Darren Marlar, and this is Weird Darkness's Retro Radio. Here I have the privilege of bringing you some of the best dark, creepy, and macabre old-time radio shows ever created. If you're new here, welcome to the show. While you're listening, be sure to check out WeirdDarkness.com for merchandise, sign up for my free newsletter, connect with me on social media, listen to free audiobooks I've narrated, visit other podcasts that I produce. You can also visit the Hope in the Darkness page if you're struggling with depression, dark thoughts, or addiction. You can find all of that and more at WeirdDarkness.com. Now, bolt your doors, lock your windows, turn off your lights, and come with me into Weird Darkness's Retro Radio.
On the top floor of one of the largest buildings in the heart of the Loop in Chicago is the office of the world's most unusual corporation. The name on the door of this office is calculated to fill the observer with wonder, and a chill of unpleasant speculation creeps up the spine of all who read the gold lettering, Nemesis Incorporated. Within the office, a young and attractive woman is seated at a large desk. She is Marie Ravel, Chicago's greatest private detective, and the active junior partner in this amazing organization. We enter the office of Nemesis Incorporated.
Nemesis Incorporated. Yes? No. It doesn't matter what you think. There is no murder without a body. Of course I work on murder cases, and your offer of a $10,000 fee is entirely adequate. But please let me tell you for the last time that there is no murder without a victim. Very well, you may call me again when the body is found, and I'll be perfectly willing to take the case. But until then, it is not murder. Give me the building manager, please. Oh, that's the most maddening sound I ever heard. Yes? Oh, Mr. Johnson, when will these window washers be through? There's a rope hanging from their platform that's been beating against my window for an hour. Well, thank you. Hello, Tribune? Ad taker, please. Yes, Marie Ravel speaking for Nemesis Incorporated. Please take this ad for the first possible edition and all editions thereafter till stop order from me. Ready? Wanted. Young, good-looking, and socially acquainted man. I'll call you again. No, you didn't hear anything. That is, I knocked a vase off my desk. I'll call you back. Oh, are you badly hurt? Can you tell me if you're hurt?
Oh, well, I guess this ought to finish me. 21 stories. It's a long fall, isn't it?
Well, you didn't fall to the street. You fell into my office through the window. Now, just lie still there, and I'll get a doctor. There's one in the building.
I'll hold everything till I take inventory of some of the joints. No. Oh, well, okay there.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I've felt better, but there doesn't seem to be anything broken.
Well, I'll fix up these little cuts on your face. Here, let me help you over to the lounge. Now, just put your arm over my shoulder. There.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, you don't feel so bad.
I think I can make it to the elevator all right. I don't want to bother you.
Now, you just sit down on this lounge for a few minutes, and then you can go if you feel all right. It was a nasty fall, you know.
Well, at least I know how it feels to think you're falling 21 stories. But I never expected such a lovely ending.
You're getting well entirely too fast, young man. Now be quiet while I finish a phone call you interrupted.
All right. Oh.
Tribune, let me have the ad taker, please. Feel better now?
Oh, I feel a little dizzy, but that's about all.
That's good. Hello, ad taker. Marie Revell speaking for Nemesis Incorporated.
Nemesis Incorporated? Say, are you sure I didn't fall 21 stories?
Keep quiet, please.
All right.
Now, will you please take this ad for the first possible edition and all editions after that till I cancel? Ready? Wanted. Young man, social connections, and good appearance given preference. Must be of good height and weight and interested in a dangerous job with good pay.
When do I start? I'm 5'11", weigh 165...
Will you please be a quiet invalid till I finish this call?
Oh, yes.
This is serious business with me and other people. Kindly use a box number on that ad and send all answers to me at once by messenger. Thank you.
Well, that paper certainly gives service to its advertisers. Here I am, the perfect answer to your ad. And the paper isn't even on the press yet.
Now, young man, I'll talk to you. This is no time for foolishness. And that ad probably has to do with murder.
You mean you're going to murder the fella you advertised for?
Oh, certainly not. But the young man that undertakes this job for me will have plenty to worry about. And he must have more than average courage.
I'm out of a job. That window washing doesn't suit me anyway. And if your proposition is within the law, I'm your boy.
Might do it there.
But first, what's it all mean? That weird name you have on the door. Nemesis Incorporated. What's it all about?
This is a detective agency specializing in private investigation of unusual crime. I'm Marie Revell. This is my agency.
Oh, now I've got it. Why, you're the daughter of Pierre Revell, the kingpin of all the private detectives. Say, your father and mine were great friends. It's 3 or 4 years since your dad... That is... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. Nearly 4 years since Dad left me alone. And I'm running the business now. Yes? Why, hello, Clark. What are you reporting at this time of day for? You're supposed to be... What? You saw it all? Oh, he didn't fall through my window. He jumped through it. No, never mind, Clark. I can handle him, and thanks a lot for looking up at the window just when you did. Now, young man, I think you will give me some explanation of just why you pretended to fall into my office.
All right, here it is. I'm desperate. I need work. Work with action and money tied to it. And when I saw you through the window, I figured you might be the boss of this office, and I just took a chance, that's all.
Now you want to work for me on the most difficult and dangerous job I've had in years. You expect me to believe your wild story?
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid you'd better leave at once. And please use the door this time.
Yes, but I tell you that
I will do the talking for a moment, young man. This man will do, I think, Marie. I knew his father when I moved in the world, as you do.
Say, what is this?
But watch him carefully, Marie. Watch him. And warn him that in your business there is never a chance to make a second mistake. The first will be the last.
Great Caesar's ghost, what is this? If you're putting on a show for my benefit, I can do without it.
Not so fast, young man. Not so fast. You wanted to know something about the name on the office door? Nemesis Incorporated. I am Nemesis, the unseen partner of my daughter in this corporation. Look to her for your duties and rewards, but if you fail in your obligations to us or betray the trust placed in you, you will answer to the Nemesis. That is all at present. I will return.
Well, I don't know as I care so much for the little show, and if I'm supposed to faint, it's a washout. But I could enjoy meeting people more if I could see them.
You want to back out?
No, I said I'd take the job, and I'll take it. But I think I'm entitled to some explanation about that voice.
You are. And I'll tell you something about it. As you seem to know, my father was the greatest of the private investigators. Then all at once he disappeared and left me to carry on alone. The voice of my father is my partner.
Well, I guess I'll get used to it. My name is Smith, Pete Smith, and I'm hired. Let's have the job.
Nearly every hour my phone rings, and on the other end of that line is Peggy Donnelly, the disgustingly rich importer's daughter.
Oh, I know about old Donnelly. He owns all the tea in China or something.
That's the family. And Miss Donnelly, Peggy, calls me all the time, trying to retain me to look into the matter of her father's murder.
Grover Donnelly murdered? Why, that'll involve millions. Why don't you take the case?
I'm doing just as my father did before me. The usual run of investigations can be handled by any one of several clever men on my staff. I personally take only homicide cases.
But if Donnelly's been murdered...
Hello? Yes, Marie Ravel speaking. No, I have not changed my mind, Miss Donnelly. In my opinion, your father has merely gone away for reasons best known to himself. And until you have positive proof, something definite to go on, I refuse to consider that murder has been done.
And that seems to settle that. So, where do I come in?
You're going to work on that case, the Donnelly case. And you're going to work on it as a murder.
But you just told her it wasn't murder.
And I don't think it is. Yet. But when anyone is as sure that murder's been done as that girl is, and millions are involved, well, there's usually a murder just around the corner waiting for a chance to be committed.
And I'm supposed to be there when it happens?
Before it happens, and prevent it if possible.
Well, that sounds like a large order. But I'm in, so let's have the rest of it.
I think that Grover Donnelly, Peggy's father, has been kidnapped, and the family will soon receive word as to how the ransom is to be paid. Grover Donnelly's quite a club member, and you will make it your business to check up on all the places he might have visited the last 3 nights, including all his own clubs and the better night spots.
Those nightclubs sound good to me. But how about my expense account? Costs money in those spots, you know.
Oh, you'll have enough money for all your needs. Please remember that you're on business. Serious business. Can you handle a revolver?
Very well, thank you. But I'd rather get along without one as long as possible. Guns get you into more trouble than they'll get you out of.
You'll do well to keep that in mind.
When and where do I start?
Tonight you will have dinner at exactly 6:30 in the little cafe on the corner of... Yes? Yes, this is Marie. Oh, please, Miss Donnelly, I told you... I know you're worried about your father, and it's only natural, but if I...
You want me to see who's at the door?
Oh, yes, get that noise stopped. Now, Miss Donnelly, I don't want to seem rude, but until you find something definite, you must... What? You have 3 of them?
Come in. We heard the buzzer. Come in, I said. Say, what's the matter with you?
Oh, Pete, send that man away. Close the door and come here quickly. Hurry, Pete.
Sorry, mister, but we're in conference now, and... Say, will you get off that buzzer, or do I have
Why
to...
don't you close the door, Pete? Get that man in or out, only stop the noise.
Hey, Marie, hang up that phone, quick. Get over here and take a look at this.
Why do you let that man keep pushing that button? Either get him in the room or shut the door in his face.
He's not pushing the button, he's leaning on it.
Look out, he's falling.
He's dead.
You needn't look for Grover Donnelly tonight, Pete.
You mean this is...
Yes. Grover Donnelly has come to us.
In the heart of Chicago's Loop, on the 21st floor of a fireproof and soundproof office building, is the office of the world's most unique detective agency, Nemesis Incorporated. The corporation consists of Marie Ravel and the ghostly voice of her absent father. Marie has just hired an assistant by the name of Pete Smith, who entered her office by crashing through the window 21 stories above the street. Peggy Donnelly, daughter of millionaire Grover Donnelly, has called Marie repeatedly to tell her she is afraid her father has been murdered. We find Marie and Pete as we last saw them, opening the office door to a strange figure standing stiffly against the buzzer on the door.
Why do you let that man keep pushing that button? Either get him into the room or shut the door in his face.
He's not pushing the button, he's leaning on it.
Look out, he's falling.
He's dead.
You needn't look for Grover Donnelly tonight, Pete.
You mean this is...
Yes. Grover Donnelly has come to us.
Are you sure?
Yes. Oh, yes, I know it's Mr. Donnelly.
Then Peggy was right. Her father was dead. And this is all that remains of Grover Donnelly. And now what do we do?
Well, there's only one thing to do, and it's the last thing in the world I would want to happen. We've got to notify the police, and the homicide squad will come in here and tear my office to pieces. Probably with Sergeant Clary doing most of the tearing.
What do we care about the cops? Let them come.
Oh, we've done nothing wrong, but the police don't like private detectives. And Sergeant Clary has accused me of being on the scene of more than one murder before it happened.
Well, we didn't see this one happen. Donnelly died some time ago, I'd say.
Don't disturb the body. Close the door. I'll call the police. Hello? Marie Ravel speaking. I want to report a murder. The body is in my office. No, we haven't touched anything. Of course we'll be here.
Now, my daughter, you must use the utmost care in handling this matter.
That voice is going to give me the jitters.
Pete, please be quiet.
The police will attempt to make this an embarrassing situation for you, Marie, and you will need every care in vindicating the reputation of the office.
You had nothing to do with Donnelly, Marie. I heard you refused to take the case, even when his daughter offered you $10,000.
And that, young man, was the worst thing she could have done.
Why, that voice heard all I said. Say, I've got to know more about having a ghost for a boss, and I want to know it right now.
Silence, young man. Silence. You will learn a great deal about me, and yet know nothing of me before you're much older. Marie, if you could prove Grover Donnelly still alive, you would need no excuse for refusing to look for his murderer. But with the man dead and his body in your office, it will be easy for Sergeant Clary to imagine a lot of reasons why you did not take the case. Watch yourself closely and keep an eye on your new assistant. For while I have no reasons to suspect his intentions in joining you, it is significant, very significant, that Mr. Smith should arrive just before the body. That is all for the time.
I'm getting so I don't like that voice.
Pete, that is the voice of...
Oh, I'm sorry, but that voice gets under my skin.
Well, you'll just have to get used to it. It's a great comfort to know that the voice of my father always reaches me when I need his advice most.
I'd like to see him just once.
No one has seen him for 4 years.
All right, let's get on with the job. Though why I have to put up with this supernatural strain running through this, I can't quite see. Do you trust me or don't you?
Oh, I do. Believe me, I do. And I should like to have you with me. But if that voice is going to shake your courage, well, I'm in a poor business for cowards.
Now, just a minute, Miss Ravel. I've got along a good many years without anybody calling me that. And if you were a man, oh, boy, what I'd do to you.
Hold that. Stay right there by the body, Mike. Well, this office goes in for violence in a big way, eh? One body on the floor and the air full of threats.
You're mistaken, Sergeant Clary. My operator was just describing a scene he'd overheard.
Oh, this mug work for you? What's your name?
Pete Smith, and we can get along without the wisecracks.
Oh, a smart guy, eh? Well, Marie, it looks like you stubbed your toe this time. I always said all private dicks would turn crooks sooner or later, and the Donnelly money was just too much for you, eh? Talk. Fast.
I will. Come into my private office and close this door.
Let's have it. The coroner will be here in a minute.
Well, when the buzzer started to ring in the front office,
Wait a bit. Did the buzzer start to ring, or did it start to buzz?
Oh, what's that got to do with
And
it?
you're a detective, eh? And you can't tell the difference between a ring and a buzz.
Well, it really buzzes, but most people call it ringing.
Tell it just as it was. Just as it was.
Well, Oh, all right. Well, anyway, I went to the door and opened it, and Mr. Donnelly, that is, the body out there, was leaning against the buzzer. Then the body fell into the room, and Miss Ravel called you. That's all.
It happened exactly as Mr. Smith tells me.
Of course it did. And the dead body of Grover Donnelly just walked right up and started buzzing your buzzer. Then when you opened the door, he fell right into the room. Fell into it so far that you could close the door without touching the body.
That's it, all right.
It's not all right. Didn't you touch the body at all?
Just to see that there was nothing we could do for him. And I've had enough experience with these things to know that Mr. Donnelly had been beyond human aid for some time.
Probably about the time his daughter first tried to get you to take the case.
How did you know that?
I know a lot about you, Private Dix. And it don't look so good to me. Why didn't you take the case?
Why didn't you?
Well, what do you mean, Pete?
Why, it's as plain as the nose on Clary's face. Okay. Miss Donnelly, Peggy, called the police first. Told them she was afraid for her father's life. The police wouldn't do anything about it.
Well, suppose that did happen. What of it?
Just this. Why didn't you take the case?
We didn't believe anything had happened to our old man.
Well, that's exactly the way we felt about it.
Yes, and what's sauce for the goose is gravy for the gander, and that makes your little cross-examination all washed up.
There's more dirt in this mess than can be washed up that easy. Now you listen.
You'd better get to your troops out there in the other office. See what they want.
I'll do that. And don't you leave here, either of you. I want to question you more when I get back. All right, boys. A quick examination, Doc.
Well, this is a pretty mix-up, isn't it?
It looks bad, Pete. After all, the man is dead. And until we prove differently, the police will insist he died in this office.
And I had to pick today to learn how to be a detective.
Please don't feel like that. It helps me to have you here.
Well, they won't let me keep you company in jail.
Don't worry. We're not going to jail.
You better tell Clary that. I don't think he knows it.
Oh, stop it, Pete. This is a serious jam, and we've got to think fast.
Only thing to do is to tell the truth and stick to it.
The truth will sound awfully silly, won't it? When I admit that Peggy Donnelly told me she knew her father was dead, and I refused to listen to her, Clary's going to town at my expense.
And that reminds me. That last call you got from Peggy. Something about she found 3. 3 what?
3 letters she found in her father's desk at home.
What kind of letters?
Threats, saying her father would be killed if he didn't go in.
Go in? Go in what?
Just those 2 words. Go in.
Go in. That doesn't make sense to me.
Nor to me. But I think you'd better rush right out to that Donnelly home and get those letters. Use my car.
I'm on my way right now.
Not thinking of leaving us, were you, Mr. Smith?
Oh, just going for a little walk.
You don't have to walk. We'll take you down in a nice new squad car.
Before we talk like that, Sergeant, suppose we hear about the examination. They're all gone, aren't they?
They've gone, all right, to hold an autopsy. Not a mark on the body, no evidence of a blow of any kind.
Then it might have been suicide?
And if it was suicide, that lets us out, eh?
Not so fast, not so fast. When a man as prominent as Crowvick Donnelly dies, everybody wants to know everything about it. Now, Marie, just what did Peggy tell you over the phone?
She said her father had received 3 letters, threats against his life. She found them in his desk.
How did you know she had called, Sergeant?
I'm asking the questions here.
Are we under arrest?
Well, not exactly, yet. But it won't look so good for you to refuse to answer questions.
Oh, I'll soon find out what those letters contained, and I'll take this case, unless it's suicide.
I'm not much of a detective. I never tried to be one till an hour ago. But from the look on Donnelly's face when he fell in the door, it wasn't suicide.
Oh, I've seen him many times, but when I saw his face then... Oh.
Just what all the squad said. Most of the boys had seen Donnelly on the street and in the papers, and he should...
I'll reach it from here. Hello? Speaking. Oh, yes, Miss Donnelly. I'm afraid
I want to talk to her.
Wait till Miss Ravel gets through.
Why, you young...
Quiet, both of you. Just a moment, please, Miss Donnelly. Pete, Clary, there's something wrong here. Can you have a call traced, Clary?
Sure, give me the phone.
Oh, stupid, this is the only line in the office. How can you use it now? If you don't hurry up, she's going to suspect something. I can't keep my hand over this mouthpiece all day.
I'll get a phone in the next office. Keep talking.
Yes, Miss Donnelly. I'm sorry, I had to get someone out of the office so we wouldn't be overheard. Yes? Well, how long ago? But are you sure you recognize the voice? But it can't be.
Say, what's all this about?
Quiet, Pete. Miss Donnelly, you'll have to be prepared for some very sad news. Your father was found less than an hour ago in this office. Dead. We're trying to... Miss Donnelly! Miss Donnelly! No use. She's fainted, I guess.
Was that just a gag to get Clary out of the office?
Oh, no, I really wanted that call traced. There was something wrong with it.
Well, what was it about?
Well, Peggy Donnelly, if it was Peggy Donnelly, said her father had just talked to her over the phone and instructed her where to bring $50,000 ransom money.
Then the call couldn't have really been from her.
Nothing wrong with that call. It came from the Donnelly home, all right. But say, what's the matter with you two? You look mighty funny to me. I'll see who it is. This is the craziest joint.
What are you doing here, Sergeant? Where's Miss Ravel?
She's right. That is... Saints preserve us. It's hot in here.
Well, if you can't talk, I'll find her myself. Oh, there you are. Say, what's the matter with this office of yours, Miss Ravel? You all look so... Well, speak up. Do I look like a ghost?
I'm afraid you do, Mr. Donnelly.
On the top floor of a large office building in the heart of Chicago's Loop is the office of that weird corporation, Nemesis Incorporated. The proprietors of this unique firm consist of Marie Ravel, famous woman criminologist, and her partner, the ghostly voice of her father, the Nemesis. One of Chicago's richest men, Grover Donnelly, was supposedly murdered, and his body left at the door of Nemesis Incorporated. With the arrival of the police to take charge of the body and question Marie and her new assistant, Pete Smith, and just as Sergeant Cleary has had the body removed to the morgue for a post-mortem examination, into the office walks Grover Donnelly, very much alive.
Close that door, Pete, and lock it, please.
I think that's a good idea. Let's find out who is in here before we let anyone else in. I'll get it.
Well, will someone please explain this to me?
One moment, please, Mr. Donnelly.
Well, that'll keep out any live people.
I don't know how much good that's going to do around here.
What's the matter with you, Sergeant?
I don't know, Mr. Donnelly, but I'm sure something is.
Now, please, all of you, if you'll keep quiet and let me talk, we can straighten this thing out, I hope.
Well, now, what is there to straighten out? I merely came in here to have you make a very private and important investigation for me, Miss Ravel. And I find your office in a state amounting to near paralysis. Sergeant Cleary here looks as if he'd seen a ghost, and this young man hasn't taken his eyes off me since I came in.
Well, it's all a little unusual, Mr. Donnelly, and
I don't see anything unusual about it. Your office has executed my commissions for me in the past. Now, may I or may I not have a few moments with you in private? Now, my time is limited. And more than that, my life is in danger.
Well, let me say something. If you'll all keep quiet, I'll say it quick. Mr. Donnelly? If you are Mr. Donnelly.
Why,
Oh, all right. You'll see it in a minute. Well, Sergeant Clary came in here with the homicide squad to investigate a murder. The body was found in this office less than an hour ago.
And, Mr. Donnelly, the body of the murdered man, just taken out of here by the coroner, was identified as... Well, that is...
Wait a bit, all of you. These people are trying to be nice about this and give it to you easy, Mr. Donnelly. But from a plain cop, the story is this. The body taken out of here a few minutes ago was identified by Miss Ravel, my entire squad, and myself, as being your body.
Why, that's preposterous, Sergeant. I'm probably the best-known man in this district, and surely someone would have seen that the body was not mine.
Mr. Donnelly, I've known you for years, as my father did before me, and I made positive identification. The resemblance was exact, down to the most minute detail.
Look at the suit Mr. Donnelly has on now. The hat, shoes, everything the same. And I'd swear the other man was your size within a pound.
Why, I've seen your picture in the paper many times, Mr. Donnelly. And I could swear that you're dead right now.
Miss Ravel and gentlemen, I can see that you're sincere, and I no longer doubt your word. But what is the answer?
Yes? Oh, Miss Donnelly, I'm so sorry I frightened you with my word about your father. He isn't...
Is that Peggy?
Yes, I'm going to let you speak to her, but please be careful not to shock her more than you have to.
Shock? Why should it shock my daughter to hear my voice? Oh, I understand. She knew about...
Yes, we had to tell her when she phoned here.
All right, I'll handle it. Hello, Peggy. Now, dear, now, don't have hysterics. It's your father, dear. Why, of course it's my own voice. I know the shock you've had, and I'm trying to straighten it out in Miss Ravel's office now. Now, you stay inside and receive no visitors. That's right. And I'll have Sergeant Cleary throw a guard around the house.
That's been taken care of already, sir.
That's fine. There you are, dear. The sergeant said that the house is under guard now. You found the letters? Well, it's better so now. Just keep them, and I'll repeat their contents to this office. Now, let no one in the house, and instruct all the servants. That's right. And see no one until you hear from me. All right. Goodbye, dear. Now, Miss Ravel, I'll tell you why I came to you in the first place.
It's about time we found out something. I'm convinced that you really are Donnelly, and you look alive. But who was the other man?
Mr. Donnelly, your daughter told me that you received 3 letters, threats against your life if you did not go in. Can you explain them?
Yes, go in what and for what?
How much was it going to cost you to go in?
Well, you people know nearly as much as I. There was no signature except a crude sign, which I could not decipher, and their contents were identical. I was to pay $50,000 cash for the privilege of going in, or my life was forfeit. Now, that's all I know.
So when did you receive the first letter?
6 days ago. And then on one each and the next of the 2 days, and then an odd one on third day. And then I received a telephone message from one of my closest friends. And he said...
Everybody quiet, please. Hello? Yes, Marie Revelle speaking. Well, who's calling, please? Jerome Hastings?
Hastings? Why, that's the friend who called me. I'll talk.
Mr. Donnelly will speak to you, Mr. Hastings.
Hello? Yes, Jerome? Yeah, I know, but how did you find me here? Oh, called my daughter, huh? No, don't come here. Where are you now? You better stay there out of sight, and I'll contact you presently. Yes, I know all about that. I've already been killed once. No, I'm not joking. Someone was killed in my place, and he looked exactly like me. All right, I'll call you. Goodbye.
Was that Jerome Hastings, the millionaire?
Yes, and he's received 3 letters also.
Then it's a plot against the moneyed men of the city. You will stay with us until this is settled, or until we can get you into safe hiding.
Say, what's that confounded noise we keep hearing every so often?
Oh, I've been watching him. It's just an airplane skywriting. So far, he said, it pays to.
Pays to buy somebody's 100,000-mile tires, probably.
Now, is this the time to discuss advertising? My life is in danger, and the lives of my friends are in danger.
You haven't got one of those letters with you now, have you?
No, but they wouldn't do you any good. They're all typed on plain paper and crudely spelled. And if I'm any judge of such things, a different typewriter was used for each message.
But the character they were signed with, that might help.
We must have those letters now. Pete, you go to Mr. Donnelly's home for them at once. I'll phone your description out so Peggy will give them to you.
That's a capital idea. I'd explain to my daughter that you're coming.
And I'm going to sit right here and watch you and that door till we can get you safely under cover.
You'd better go now, Pete. I'll phone Mr. Donnelly's home.
I would advise you not to use that phone just now.
Where did that voice come from?
Quiet, please, Mr. Donnelly. I'll explain.
It is better so. Do not use the phone for outgoing calls, and be very guarded as to what you say when receiving calls. Your wire has just been tapped. My old friend Grover Donnelly...
This is horrible.
...need have no fear if he follows my daughter's instructions. That is all. I will return when you need me most.
Hold everything right there. I just found me voice. What kind of goings-on do you call this?
Marie, that sounded like the voice of your father. And it's nearly 4 years, isn't it, since he... what is it?
Please, Mr. Donnelly, you mustn't ask me to explain that voice, except to say that it will do more for your cause than any of us. All of us, for that matter.
That voice will do with some explaining right now. I don't like tricks. And there's a lot of things here I don't like.
And you can leave any time.
Don't start arguing. We haven't time. Our phone is tapped, so we can't call the Donnelly home and identify you, Pete. That means I'll get those letters myself. I know Peggy.
How about me going? Didn't it occur to any of you people that the police might have a few rights in this case?
Sergeant, I want you to stay here and guard Mr. Donnelly. Now, both of you stay in this room till I get back. Don't call on that phone. And if I don't come back in an hour, take Mr. Donnelly to the station and lock him up under guard. No harm can come to him there.
And I'll go with you, Marie. I might come in handy. But if Clary can't use this phone, how can he call for a car and a guard to get Mr. Donnelly safely to the station?
Right, we can't even call for help.
I'll call all right if I need to. Old man Cleary sees things. If I can't get me own squad, I'll just pull that firebox out in the hall and we'll have the fire laddies get us out.
Well, come on, Pete. We're wasting time. Now, remember, Mr. Donnelly, leave here only with the sergeant and a guard.
We ought to be back in a half an hour.
And be sure and tell Peggy I'm quite all right.
We'll tell him, Mr. Donnelly. Wait. Pete, don't open that door. Slide that bolt in again, quick.
What's wrong, Marie?
Look under the door.
Oh, a telegram, eh? Let's see about that.
What's holding you up out there? You two better be on your way.
Open it, but be careful.
Well, looks all right to me. Just the usual form.
Let me see.
Why, it's addressed to...
Shh. Not now. I've an idea.
Yes?
Come on, Pete, let's get out. I want to discuss this thing before I show it to Mr. Donnelly.
Say, what's the matter with you two? Why don't you get on your way? Just a minute, Marie. What have you got in your hand?
Well, now, if somebody doesn't do something here presently, I'll have to attend to it myself.
Now, look here, Clary, this is...
I saw what it was, a telegram. Give it here.
There it is. We found it under the door.
Addressed to Mr. Donnelly. That's queer. To Donnelly at this address?
Let me see the message. The price is now $100,000 to go in. Almost the same wording.
Yes, but they've doubled the price.
They're getting closer to me. Can't you people do something? You're supposed to be investigators. Can you only stand around and stare at me?
We're doing all right as long as we're able to stand here and stare at anything.
Listen, if you people don't do something...
I'll do something just as soon as I get those letters.
Oh, come on, Pete. You'd better close this door and bolt it behind us, Sergeant.
All we can do is to wait for them, Mr. Donnelly. We might as well go back in the inner office and sit down.
Oh, but all this seems such a waste of time. Sergeant, isn't that airplane flying too close to this building? He's been going round and round here for some time.
He's too low, all right. Got no business near these buildings. Let's see what he wrote. It pays to go in, GD.
Oh, some asinine advertising stunt.
Wait a bit. It pays to go in. Get that, Mr. Donnelly? Go in.
You're right. There it is in the sky in smoke. The message of those threatening letters. But what do you suppose the letters at the end stand for? Sergeant, do you suppose...
Yes, sir. I'm afraid they're your initials, sir. GD. Grover Donnelly.
Nemesis Incorporated, the unique private detective agency in Chicago, is faced with its most amazing case. In the office of Nemesis Incorporated, the active partner, Marie Ravel, has just hired an assistant, Pete Smith. Marie's unseen partner is the ghostly voice of her father, the Nemesis. As Marie and Pete discuss frantic phone calls from Grover Donnelly's home, Donnelly's dead body is found leaning on the door of the office. Then, to complicate things, Donnelly walks in very much alive. Marie leaves Donnelly in her office with Sergeant Clary of the Homicide Squad guarding him, and she and Pete are driving back from Donnelly's North Shore home with the threatening letters Donnelly received.
But Donnelly's perfectly safe as long as he's in your office.
Of course, but our friend Sergeant Clary will take these letters away from us the minute we get there.
How can he?
Well, Clary is the police. He can do as he pleases. Don't forget that this is no longer a private investigation. The Homicide Squad has taken a body out of my office, supposedly the body of Grover Donnelly, and the police are in charge.
Then you figure fast. There must be something about those letters that'll help us.
Well, nothing in the body of the messages, I'm afraid.
Well, how about that funny scrawl for a signature?
Well, that's where our only hope is. Oh, don't slow down, Pete. You drive with both eyes, and I'll study these letters.
But if we're going to have to give up the letters to Clary as soon as we reach the office, why not drive slowly and have more time to study them?
Well, I'm afraid to leave Mr. Donnelly alone too long. He might not be as safe as we think.
Oh, with Clary there guarding him, what could happen to him? Clary looks fairly tough to me.
He is tough, and he's a good, honest cop. But Clary is a cop, and they all rely to a certain extent on the fact that they are the police. And frequently they underestimate just how little a clever criminal fears them.
Then somebody might put something over on Donnelly with Clary right there watching him. Might even get Clary.
Exactly. And with one body taken from our office today, all we need to guarantee us a vacation in Joliet is for something to happen to Clary in that same office.
Say, is this detective business always this mixed up? That body we found at the office door, everybody identified it as Donnelly, and the man was certainly dead. Now Donnelly's sitting in your office with Clary. How about the other man? Don't we make any attempt to find out who he is and where he fits into this picture?
Of course. But with the police on the job, there isn't much we can do yet. Clary will get a report from the medical examiner the minute they complete the autopsy, or identify the body, or both. But it's a question of how much news Clary will divide with us.
Well, then, for the love of Mike, figure out that scroll thing at the end of the letters, so we can file the information away in the rear of our noodles. Clary can't get it there at any rate. Say, there comes that whining noise again. That voice of your father's, talking to us in the office and now following us in this car. I've got to know something about that. After all, I'm entitled to wonder a bit about taking orders from a man who's been gone 4 years.
Oh, please, Pete, some other time.
Sergeant, Clary is even now getting the information from the medical examiners on the identification of the body taken from your office. And I will repeat it to you. Drive fast. Fast. Donnelly is in danger. Clary will need your help. Here is the morgue report as Clary is getting it over your phone now. Body identified as Grover Donnelly is that of Jerry Jarvis, one-time well-known cabaret entertainer, now down on his luck. Clever makeup and impersonation of Donnelly. Jarvis died of cyanide poisoning. Hurry to your office.
Oh, step on it, Pete. Hurry. Oh, Pete.
Yes?
I've got it.
What?
I figured out the signature on those letters. I know what that scrawl means. Look.
Ow! Oh, something hit me. Say, if I could get my hands on the kid who threw that...
No kid threw this. Look what hit you, Pete. A note tied to a vest pocket flashlight. I'll read it.
What does it say?
Drive, Pete, drive faster than you ever drove in your life. This note says, don't hurry to your office. It's too late.
Too late for what?
Oh, wait, there's more. You will not be harmed if you drop this case now. But if you continue, you have until midnight to live. Donnelly has passed the time limit given him to go in. Nothing can save him.
We keep trying just the same, don't
Oh,
we?
you bet we do. Only drive faster. Look, the signature to this is the same as on the threats Donnelly received. We've got a clue now, Pete. This note is in longhand, and there'll be fingerprints on this flashlight.
Then it looks as if all we've got to do is...
That ambulance! Pete, look out!
And that's my idea about that. Now to see what's happening over our tapped wire. Hello? Who? Cleary talking. Let's have it, Doc. Identified as Jerry Jarvis, cabaret entertainer. Yeah, go on. Clever makeup and impersonation of Donnelly. Yeah, I got it. Find any poison? Cyanide, eh? Say, Doc, fix the time of death as close as you can, and let me know how long the amount of cyanide he got would take to kill him. Okay, Doc.
Well, we know that much at any rate, Sergeant.
Yeah, and don't forget that everything we learn over this wire, the other team's learning too. Now, when Marie and this new helper of hers gets back, I can get away and find out why and for how much this Jarvis let himself be bumped off in your place.
Say, you don't think he allowed himself to be killed, do you?
Oh, of course not. But he must have got himself into a jam where they could slip him the cyanide. And that brings us back to talking some more about Marie Ravel. That trick she calls her father's voicing, and this cub Dick she's got under her wing. There's a lot of cards around here I could play better if I knew how they were being dealt. Cyanide works fast, and if cyanide killed Jarvis, he wasn't far from this office when he died.
Well, you don't suspect Marie of anything out of the way, do you?
I don't want to. I've known Marie since she was a kid, and her father before she was born. Old man Ravel was as square as they make 'em. I got no reason to think otherwise of Marie, except that all Private Dick's get in me hair at times.
What about that voice?
Yeah, that's going to keep me from sleeping, too.
I knew Pierre Ravel in the days when he was just starting as a private investigator, and he handled all of my business until he died, 4 years ago.
Died? But you said you'd swear you recognized that voice as his.
And so I did. That voice belongs, or did belong, to Marie's father.
Oh, don't talk about voices that did belong to people.
Why are you so worked up over it?
Because I went to Ravel's funeral. And when I go to a man's funeral, I don't like to hear him talk anymore.
Well, I'd stake my fortune on Marie and her honesty and everything she's doing.
If you say so, okay. But now for the thing that bothers me most about this setup. That young Pete Smith.
Well, he acts decent enough. Not experienced in this work, but he's devoted to Marie's cause and quite capable of taking care of himself.
So far, so good. But maybe I know a little something about him that you don't know. Don't it strike you that this is a mighty chilly day for a big window like that to be open?
Well, now that you mention it, I'm sure I wouldn't have mine open on such a day.
Go over and feel that glass, will you?
That seems rather a silly thing to do, but just to please you, Why, there's no window here. The glass is gone.
You're right, sir. And that's how our young friend Pate Smith made his entrance into this office.
Yes, but how did he get up there? We're 21 floors from the street.
He didn't get up. He got down on a rope slung from the roof. Supposed to be washing windows, he was. But he deliberately swung himself through that window, glass and all. And Marie Ravel saw him for the first time when she picked him up off this floor less than 2 hours ago. And that's not all I know about him. Well, here we go again. Yes? Who? Who's talking? Never heard of him. What number do you call? Well, this is Maria Ravel's office, all right. I'll take the message. No, he's not here, and you couldn't talk to him if he was. Yeah? Why, you dirty... Hello! Hello!
That was someone wanting to speak to me, wasn't it?
You and I are in for a rough 20 minutes, Mr. Donnelly.
Why, how do you mean?
According to that guy, we've only got 15 minutes to live.
Another threat?
And mighty close to home. Don't forget the phone line is tapped. And 10 to 1, it's in the office exactly under us.
But what can we do, Sergeant?
We can be alive at the end of 15 minutes for one thing. And we can find out where some of this gang is for another. Now take your clothes off, quick.
Are you mad? Take off my clothes?
Take off your clothes. Make it snappy. Coat, vest, trousers, and shoes. Hurry. Here's the plan. I'll tail down these drapes and use the pillows off the couch to make as good a dummy of you as I can in a rush. With these curtain ropes, I let the dummy down in front of the window below us. Now don't say anything more except as I give you the lead. I'm going to take the receiver off this phone and pretend to put in a call. Somebody will hear us. And I got ideas about what will happen when the dummy in your clothes is seen outside that window. Be quiet now. Here goes the receiver. Hello. Headquarters. Cleary talking. Give me my desk, will you? What? Busy? All right, I'll wait. Now, Mr. Donnelly, we've got to hurry with this. That phone call gave us just 15 minutes to live, and you've got to get out.
But, Sergeant, can't you do something about it?
Oh, not a thing. I'm licked, I tell you. This gang is too smart for me. Hurry up now. Get this rope under your arms.
All right.
I'll let you down a couple of floors, and somebody may see you through a window and pull you in.
Yes, but if that cord breaks, I'll fall to the street.
You've got less than 15 minutes to live if you stay here. I'll help you over the windowsill.
All right, here we go.
Easy does it.
Yes, I've got it
Easy. Now, there now. All right. Now you're opposite the first window. Hold steady. The dummy is just opposite the window now.
A strange scene has just been enacted in the office of Nemesis Incorporated. Grover Donnelly, Chicago millionaire, has been threatened with death, and a cleverly disguised double has been killed in his place. Donnelly was left in the office of Nemesis Incorporated, guarded by Sergeant Cleary of the Homicide Squad, while Marie Ravel, junior partner of Nemesis Incorporated, and her new assistant, Pete Smith, are racing back from the Donnelly home with the threatening letters that Donnelly received. The furious drive ends when they crash into an ambulance on the North Shore. In Marie's office, Donnelly presents a strange appearance as he stands near the window with Sergeant Cleary.
That was a narrow escape, Mr. Donnelly. If that had been your body instead of the dummy in your clothes we let down in front of the window below, you would now be lying on the sidewalk 20 stories below us.
Oh, it was horrible, Sergeant. That fearful machine gun fire coming through that window and, well, almost blowing that dummy to pieces.
That's what I had to drop the dummy for. If it had hung there in front of the window, they would have seen that it wasn't your body. As it is, they think you're dead. And that may be the thing that will save your life.
But I've no clothes now, and Marie and Pete will be back any moment with the letters from my home. Now, I can't meet them in my underclothing.
Well, it maybe ain't the regular costume for conferences, but you ought to be glad that you're able to meet them at all.
No, I don't mean to be ungrateful, Sergeant. You've saved my life, and I won't forget it the next time I have dinner with the commissioner. But I do rather feel out of place in this garb.
We'll fix you up with something, sir. That looks like a clothes closet there. I'll have a look at it. These things are all Marie's. Looks like she keeps a full wardrobe here. Mostly evening dresses and coats.
Well, I'm afraid dresses wouldn't do very well.
Right you are, sir. But here's a nice long raincoat. This will cover you up until you can get out of here. Or get some clothes into you. Better put it right on, sir. It's chilly in here.
Oh, thank you, Sergeant. Yeah, that'll help a lot. Well, there we are now. Oh, it isn't bad at all. Good thing I'm not very tall and this coat is long.
I'll make 3 guesses who that is, and they're all headquarters. Somebody has found and reported your dummy on the walk below. Hello? Yeah, this is Cleary. I thought you had. Who found it? Fell right beside a parked radio car. Couldn't be better. And the boys hauled it into the car without attracting a crowd? Getting better all the time. Now listen, don't let anybody see that dummy. And give a story to the news hounds that Donnelly, yes, Grover Donnelly, fell to the walk after being shot with a machine gun as he hung in front of a window on the 20th floor of this building. And how about my fingerprint man? On his way. All right. Now put this on fast. Throw a net around this building. Ride the elevators and parade the halls. And close the 21st floor. Bring anyone suspicious to me in Marie Ravel's office.
Now, what can be keeping Marie? She should have been back here 10 minutes ago.
I don't like that either. Hold on there. Here comes that voice.
Yes, Barry. Here's that voice. And because the Nemesis hears and sees much that is hidden from mortal eyes and ears...
Someday I'll find out how that voice comes
You'll
out of
find
that...
out nothing if you interrupt me again, Sergeant. I want to advise you that the office below you is now empty. Your phone line is no longer tapped. Your ruse was very clever, Sergeant. You're improving.
Oh.
You should have been a detective.
Oh, did you hear that now? So I ought to be a detective, ought I? Well, if you're listening, Mr. Voice, I figured out that office would be empty and our phone line closed again before you.
Say, here are Marie and Pete now.
Not so fast, sir. Back in that corner. I'll see who it is. Well, who's there?
C'est moi, it is me, Jacques Larue.
Well, it's about time.
You sent for message to bring my material, so
Save it, Frenchie, save it. What hurried you so fast? I wanted you quick.
For me, I come to make fingerprints, not arguments.
Come on in here. All right, Mr. Donnelly, you can show yourself. Get to work on that table, Frenchie. Mr. Donnelly, this is Leroux, fingerprint man from headquarters.
How do you do?
Try everything in the office, Frenchie. Now, Mr. Donnelly, I'm going to ask you to do something you may not like. I want your fingerprint.
Now, look here,
I'll
Sergeant.
explain it to you. I'm not sure at all about this Pete Smith that's working with Marie. And I want his prints, too. So to keep him from suspecting anything, I'll have to take everybody's. Yours, Marie's, Pete's, and me own.
Well, of course, if you put it like that.
Hey, Frenchie, lay out 5 cards and materials here, will you? We're going to try something.
They are all there, voila. Bien. I shall go out and get the outer doorknob, no?
No, he's right. We'll get that later. Just now, keep this cage shut up tight. Now, Mr. Donnelly, if you'll watch me and do as I do, 1 finger at a time. First on here, then on the card, with a firm, light pressure. There you are. Just takes a moment, your right thumb first, and they'll all be done.
Is that identification absolutely positive?
Oh, there's millions of prints on file all over the world. And so far as I know, no 2 of them even looks alike to a man who knows how to read 'em. Well, there's mine. And I'll just write me name on me card. Now yours, sir. You go right ahead and put your prints there, Mr. Donnelly, and your name under it. I'll close this door so you won't have to hide. Stay out of the way, Clancy. I'll get this. Who's there?
It's Marie and Pete.
Hurry it up, Barry.
Come in right up, Marie.
I'm all right, Pete. I can walk alone.
You don't feel very steady to me. Shut that, Sergeant.
You two look like you've been through a cyclone.
Never mind how we look. Shut the door. Now, come on in your private office and sit down here, Marie. Now, just sit there and... Why, Mr. Donnelly, I'm sorry, sir.
It's all right. I don't blame you a bit for laughing, my boy.
Well, my raincoat fits you very nicely, Mr. Donnelly, but where are your clothes?
And why the fingerprint?
I'll explain all that. But what happened to you two? You're 15 minutes late.
We hit an ambulance and wrecked our car.
It didn't help the ambulance any either.
The ambulance was driven to hit us. Nobody in it, and the driver ran away at the crash. He drove right into us.
Who was driving your car?
I was. Marie was reading Mr. Donnelly's threatening letters.
Are you sure you didn't drive into the ambulance, Mr. Smith?
Oh, what's the matter with you, Sergeant? Peter did a grand job of driving and keeping us right side up after we'd been hit. If he hadn't, we wouldn't be here. We finished the drive in a taxi. Here's the letters.
I'll take them to headquarters for the experts to work on and see if we can't figure out that thing signed on them.
Oh, I figured that coming down in the car. It's an octopus.
An octopus? Well, what could that mean, Marie?
Well, we figured a couple of things it might mean. But before we divide with you, what's all the fingerprinting about?
I saw you taking your own as we came in, Mr. Donnelly. The sergeant hasn't arrested you, has he?
None of that, none of that. This is serious business.
You bet it is. Taking the fingerprints of any citizen is serious business.
Well, would you object to having yours taken?
I certainly would.
Did you hear that, Mr. Donnelly? What did I tell you?
Well, what did you tell him? You act as if you had the axe out for Pete, Sergeant.
Well, the sergeant did say something about...
I said we'd take the prints of everyone here just as a starting point in this case. After all, the body was taken out of here, and we might all have been in here just before the body.
Clary, if that's a crack at me, I'm
Pete,
going...
please. I know that what the sergeant asks is unusual, and he can't demand it until you're under arrest. But why don't you want him to take them? I'll give him mine. May I use this card, Sergeant?
That's the spirit, Marie. Go right ahead. Well, how about it, wise guy?
I don't care much for it.
That's up to you. You know your rights. But it don't look so good for you. I claim there's something wrong with any man who's afraid to have his fingerprints made.
Pete, come over here and give the sergeant your prints. We've got other things to do.
Oh, all right, if you say so.
Now, Sergeant, I have figured out that the design used for a signature on the threats Mr. Donnelly received is an octopus.
Yes, but why an octopus?
That's what we've got to find out. And there's boys at headquarters that know a lot about finding out such things.
And here's something else. While we were coming down the drive, just before that ambulance hit us, this little vest pocket flashlight was thrown in the car window with a note tied to it.
And wrapped in your handkerchief to save the prints, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good girl, Mary. Here, Frenchie, see if you can raise any prints on this thing before it gets too muched up.
Well, there's my prints. But remember, Sergeant, you took them under protest.
Oh, what's the matter with you, Pete?
Oh, I'm sorry, Marie.
And here's the note that was tied to the flashlight.
Oh, handwriting, eh? That helps, maybe. Same signature, and this is a little better drawing. It's an octopus, all right, but that's getting us nowhere fast. So they warned you not to try to reach the office. That Mr. Donnelly would be dead before you could get here.
Yeah, that's what the note says. We believed it might be true. That's why I was stepping on it hard enough to smack into that ambulance.
Well, I should have been dead but for the sergeant, I imagine. He thought the criminals were in the office directly underneath this one. Now, they tapped our phone, and so he took the receiver off the hook and allowed them to overhear our conversation. And then he quickly made a dummy with drapes and my clothes, and talking loudly as if luring me to safety, he let that dummy out of the window.
That window below was the one, all right. They blasted through the glass with a machine gun and riddled the dummy. Then they took a powder.
Well, that means our line is no longer tapped, then.
Right. That voice thing, and don't let me forget to ask plenty more questions about that. That voice told us the line was closed. Now let's get on with it.
Well, here's something I want to know. You received 3 threatening letters on 3 consecutive days. That's right, Mr. Donnelly?
Precisely.
Then you were absent from your home and business for the next 3 days?
Why, yes, I was.
Where did you spend the 3 days?
That's right, Donnelly. Where were you? Did you contact the gang that threatened you?
Why, no, of course not.
Was that gang holding you during that time?
This is the suit of clothes you left home in, and the suit the gang duplicated to dress your murdered double in.
You must have seen some of the gang. I know you'd be afraid to identify them if you had, but we'll protect you. Were you held by that gang?
Now, look here. This sounds like a cross-examination.
Oh, we're only trying to help you. Who kidnapped you?
And where were you for 3 days? Where did that gang hold you?
I tell you, I never saw any gang.
Sergeant Clary, voyez, the fingerprints on the flashlight thrown with the note into the car.
So what?
They are exactly the same as those on this card here of Monsieur Donnelly.
Mr. Donnelly's prints on the flashlight.
And one of the kidnap gang threw that flashlight in our car.
So you never saw the gang, eh, Donnelly?
when Grover Donnelly, Chicago millionaire, was threatened with death if he did not contribute $50,000 cash to a mysterious organization for the privilege of going in, and when the body of a murdered man who was identified as Donnelly was found at the door of her office, things certainly started for Marie Ravel, junior partner of Nemesis Incorporated. Grover Donnelly has claimed he was not kidnapped and had never contacted any of the gang, but his fingerprints have been found on a flashlight thrown into Marie's car by the gang. Donnelly is being questioned in the office of Nemesis Incorporated.
Now maybe we can get someplace. Why didn't you tell us that before, Mr. Donnelly?
For obvious reasons, Sergeant. I was threatened with immediate and horrible death if I breathed a word of my kidnapping.
But we may have lost valuable time in tracking down this gang.
Right, Marie. And from what I've seen of them so far, we can't afford to give them any odds.
Now look here, Mr. Donnelly. Just what can you remember about your kidnapping? How and when did they get you?
Well, I was seated in the garden of my own home, and it was just at dusk. And suddenly something was thrown over my head. There was a peculiar odor clinging to the blanket or whatever it was, and, well, that's all I remember.
Well, what kind of a chair were you sitting on when they got you in the garden?
Oh, rather an ordinary, just the usual sort of a garden thing.
Well, Sergeant Clary means what was the chair made of?
If you don't mind, Marie, I'll tell him what I mean.
Now then, hurry up about it. This is Marie's case, you know.
It was, but she wouldn't take it. Now I'm in charge. And too much of your lip is getting you in worse and worse with me, Mr. Pete Smith.
I've heard that about enough, Sergeant, without some explanation. What have you against Pete?
I've been trying to think ever since I saw him working for you here. He don't ring true. And I'll
Well,
get
until you
something
make
on-
up your mind just what you don't like about me, let's get on with this. Marie and I want to solve this thing after you get out of here.
I'll do the talking from now on. Mr. Donnelly, what was that garden chair made of?
Oh, it was one of those modernistic things. Stainless steel, I believe is the material.
Then you expect to find fingerprints of the men who kidnapped Mr. Donnelly on that chair?
Ain't it likely they had hands, and hands with fingers on them?
Yes, but they didn't leave any prints on that flashlight.
Did you handle this flashlight when they held you prisoner, Mr. Donnelly?
Well, I suppose I must have. Although I didn't know anything about their searching me until everything had been removed from my clothing.
Then that is your own vest pocket light.
Yes, it is.
Now think, Mr. Donnelly, think hard. What can you remember about the place they held you in?
Now, let me see. Just one thing. Water.
Water?
You heard running water?
Hey, wait a minute. I've got it. Water. Look, Marie. That thing scrawled on the ends of the threatening notes.
Right, Pete. The octopus. Water, octopus.
You were under the water?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I thought I heard water running at times, and then they put me in a room where I could hear nothing.
But when you escaped, you must have seen something of your surroundings. You couldn't get out of a place without at least knowing a little about it. How did you get out?
And I don't remember. I was taken out, and the first thing I was conscious of was sitting in a room at one of the hotels.
Then they doped you and took you out when they got ready.
Well, what did they do to you while you were held?
You must have been held at least 2 days. What happened?
They tried to get me to phone my daughter for money and all right to her, and I refused.
But you did phone her, sir.
I did nothing of the kind.
Well, just as you walked in the door of this office, I received a call from your daughter saying you'd talked to her on the phone.
That's right. And you sent Clary out to trace the call.
I traced it all right, and it was really your daughter talking. And she said she was told to leave the money... where did she say, Marie?
Well, she didn't get that far. I told her we'd found the body of her father here, and she fainted.
But I did not phone her. They tried to get me to. And over again, they made me rehearse the speech. For hours, they kept me saying, "This is your father, Peggy. Get $50,000 in cash at once and take it to the information desk in the Union Depot."
There you are, the information desk at the Union Depot.
Sounds like a funny place to leave the money.
Well, it's the best place in the world. Easy to slip up and grab it in a crowd.
Then you did phone that message to your daughter.
I tell you I did not. I was never near a telephone. Why, there wasn't one in the room.
Well, what was in the room they held you in?
And I saw nothing but a chair and a table and... Oh, yes, now, there was one rather strange thing. A full-length mirror at the end of the room, and they made me sit directly in front of it and look at myself all the time.
That's a screwy business.
Maybe not.
What? Have you got an idea?
Oh, just an idea. Nothing more.
Now look here, Marie. Don't be withholding information from the police.
Oh, this is just an idea, Sergeant. I'll let you know if it works.
Well, when you set your jaw like that, I guess that's the end of it. Come on, Mr. Donnelly. We're going to jail.
Jail? Am I under arrest for my own kidnapping?
Oh, nothing like it. I'm taking you down there for your own protection. This building's full of me own men, and we can walk out and into a prowl car.
Hey, wait a minute, but in Marie's coat and no clothes, shoes,
I'll
or hat?
put me own hat down over your face, and nobody'll be any the wiser. Come on, sir.
Oh, by the way, Sergeant, I'd like to know what you do find when you examine Mr. Donnelly's clothes, particularly the shoes that you used for his dummy.
I'll be telling you nothing till you divide with me, and maybe not then.
Oh, now, Sergeant Clary. It might be Lieutenant Clary if you break a nice case like this. And I'll give you all the credit. The newspapers boys like me, you know.
Ah, what do I want with credit? I'm out to do me duty. And, Marie, when you're talking to them newspaper boys, me first name is Timothy. Timothy Cleary. Goodbye.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Clary would just hate to have his name get in the papers.
Clary will work with us all right.
Sure.
Now, Pete, I've got an idea.
Yes?
It's a big idea. And if we can get any information from those clothes of Mr. Donnelly's, I know at least where to start looking.
Well, now you lie down there on the couch for a while. You can talk just as well lying down. And after all, we did have a nasty smash with the car, you know.
I think I will lie down, Pete. And you can bring those notes, the threats against Donnelly, I mean, and sit here by me while we figure them out.
All right. There we are.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, that's better. I had an idea I was going to like this business.
Now, Pete.
Okay, on with the work. Where do we start? With the first note?
No, with the end of the last note, the signature.
Well, you figured that all right. It's an octopus. I can see it as plain as day, after you explained it to me.
All right. Optimus means water. Water means what?
Underwater hangout. Headquarters for the gang.
Very good for your first day as a detective, Pete, but not good enough.
What's wrong with it?
Too easy, too obvious. In the first place, the writer of these notes knew someone would recognize this as an octopus. Then they would figure water and spend precious time looking for secret caves in the shore of Lake Michigan or the river.
I still like it.
No, that's all done to throw us off the track.
But Donnelly said he heard water, running water, near the place this gang held him.
Well, even that might be part of an elaborate plan to hide their place of concealment. One thing is sure, Pete. This is no ordinary gang of hoodlums, nor is it just an isolated case of kidnapping. This is going to be a far-reaching thing if we don't get to the bottom of it.
Can't we find out something about this other fellow, that millionaire friend of Donnelly's? What's his name?
Jerome Hastings.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh, wasn't it stupid of me to let Donnelly get away without asking him where Hastings was hiding? We'll go down to Central Station after a while and see Clary about getting the information. But in the meantime, well, I want you to listen while I unfold a wild idea I had about that big mirror Donnelly said they kept him sitting or standing in front of all the time they held him.
Go ahead. And if your idea's any crazier than mine, we'll work on yours.
Did you see that, too?
If you mean those gestures Donnelly was making while he talked, Yeah, I saw them. But I didn't think anyone else did.
Well, I'm sure Clary didn't, because he was anxious to get Donnelly out of the office. Now, well, what do you make of it?
Well, when Donnelly was describing this full-length mirror, he was gesturing all the time.
Yes.
You could almost see his hands outlining the mirror, and his figure reflected in it. Then, when his conversation broke, his hands kept on.
And they were groping, feeling for something that was no longer there. He was seeing himself in a mirror that had been suddenly taken away.
That's the way I saw what Donnelly was doing. Oh, but that's out of the question.
Oh, no, it isn't, Pete.
Then what was the mirror there for?
So he would see himself in it. See himself over and over.
Why did the gang want him to see himself so much?
Well, they didn't. For after the mirror was taken away, he wasn't looking at himself, but at his double. Donnelly thought he was still looking at himself.
That's how the gang knew the double was perfect.
Yes.
And it was safe to send him out on the street to pose as Donnelly.
Exactly. And if necessary, the double might even deceive Donnelly's daughter and meet her to grab the money in the Union Depot.
I suppose it'd be just a waste of time to go to the Union Depot now.
Yes. You remember the last note said, "Too late. Donnelly has missed his chance to go in."
You are doing well in your reasoning, Marie, and I have confidence in your ability to solve this case quickly. But let me warn you of two things. Jerome Hastings is in immediate danger. Remember that he gave Donnelly his address over your phone when the line was tapped.
That's right.
Quiet, Pete.
And you, Pete, will watch yourself carefully with Clary. He will get something damaging on you if he can, for his distrust of you is very real. As for myself, the Nemesis trusts no one.
Look here, Marie. You trust me, don't you?
Oh, I do, Pete. And with your help, I'll see this thing through.
Then tell me, just what or who is that voice?
Oh, I can't tell you, Pete. You must trust me there.
All right. I'll never ask you again till you tell me. Now, about this rat Clary. Why does he have to be such a mug?
I'm honestly worried about that, Pete. You're getting so you hate Clary just because he doesn't like you. Oh, I do, Pete. Like you a lot, I mean. But I've got to be honest about Clary. He's not a rat. He's a tough, honest copper, and he never persecuted any man unless he really suspected him of something. That's why I'm worried. Yes? Oh, something important, Sergeant Clary? What? Oh. Oh. Well, Thank you, Sergeant.
Has Clary found out something?
When you jumped into my office through that window, glass and all, you said, "I'm Pete Smith, and I want a job." I liked your manner and appearance, and I hired you at face value,
Well, yes,
didn't I?
something like that, but what's the matter, Marie?
Sergeant Clary has something on you, and you lied to me.
So, Clary found out, eh?
Pete, what is your real name?
Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. If you like the show, please share it with someone you know who loves old-time radio or the paranormal or strange stories, true crime, monsters, or unsolved mysteries like you do. You can email me and follow me on social media through the Weird Darkness website. WeirdDarkness.com is also where you can listen to free audiobooks I've narrated, get the email newsletter, visit the store for creepy and cool Weird Darkness merchandise. You can find other podcasts that I host. Plus, it's where you can find the Hope in the Darkness page if you or someone you know is struggling with depression, addiction, or thoughts of harming yourself or others. You can find all of that and more at WeirdDarkness.com. I'm Darren Marlar. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Weird Darkness's Retro Radio.